where even as adults we don't take the necessary time and the necessary commitment to commit to learning or de-learning or unlearning some of the critical things in our minds that may have been instilled by our parents or our adults who were taking care of us as children. And again, they were doing it to protect us too. I think it's not always vicious and in a malicious way. They are product of that same cycle. And so of course, to be protective of your child, you're gonna instill the values that were instilled in you.
Right.
But there's always room for breaking that cycle and or adding new things to that cycle. You don't even have to break it, but expand it, make the cycle or the circle bigger, and in that room create space for wanting to understand more than what you have.
Yeah. Like honor the tradition, not put that to the side, but then just expand upon that tradition and understand we have our tradition, but there's tradition in all of these other boxes as well. And if we understand that love is what flows through all of them, then we can utilize the love as the common language between them. Instead of keeping them all separate, let's utilize the love as the language. And that's where we find the empathy.
Exactly.
And so when we talk, that's what I see occurring in you. It's you have not once that I've ever seen or known you sacrificed your faith and your belief in order to uphold your empathy.
I don't have to.
And that is a treasure. So to be able to express to others, I'm not sacrificing myself to see you as you are. Because many people feel like they have to sacrifice self to hold empathy for someone else.
Right.
And so that's another question I have for you is how do you stand so strong in who you are while also recognizing that you can be strong in who you are and I can still empathize with you and where you are, but not lose myself in you, nor anticipate that you're going to lose yourself in me. Because there is that fear that many hold that, oh no, if I empathize with you, then I'm going to lose myself in that.
I think that's part of having faith and conviction in the belief system that we all have in one shape or form or the other. Being a religious studies major, religion student really, because I that's what I studied and I loved it. And I think a lot of the world's problems today could potentially be remedied, if not solved, if we really started to re-examine or revisit the religious realm in each of the spiritual journeys that each religion has to offer. I think I don't want to sound controversial here, because I know there is a freedom of religion in America, and that's one of the beautiful things about America, to allow anybody and everybody to practice as they wish. So of course I value incredibly a lot this right to be able to practice any faith you want. But having the freedom to have a belief system is not the same as shunning away any faith or any belief system. I'm seeing a lot of so my daughter is now in school here in America. She's in a public school in Phoenix, and she comes home and she's a young child, and we have a very close relationship, and she talks to me and I talk to her, because I think that's the job of any parent, to be able to live the process of growing up with your children, right? And a lot of that requires communication, and communication's talking and listening and conversing, and that's how and that's kind of the foundation of empathy, because you start to understand and realize other people's problems, whether it's your child, your neighbor, your friend, your God, even your enemy. Until and unless you start talking to them, how are you going to understand? So the common language, and language, of course, is another issue, but the common language of the heart, right?
Yes.
Once you start communicating through the heart is when you start to realize that there's not so much difference between us than what was either taught to me or what I perceived or what I thought there was. And so faith and religion, in my opinion, coming back to that, so much of the world narratives focus on the differences that exist in all these variety of faiths across the globe. But if you really study it, all faiths have very similar principles kind of interweaving in these various faiths, which is respect, love, compassion, mercy, kindness. These are all virtues that lead one to become empathetic and compassionate. And what I'm seeing with the stories that my daughter's telling me is that more and more people are losing those virtues which once defined us as human beings. And for the fear of being diplomatically correct, you hold yourself from saying anything because you're afraid that you might offend somebody. And so I think one of the reasons why I've been able to convey what I am, who I am, and what I believe, and so so confidently in what I do and who I talk to, is I don't expect people to believe the same thing that I believe. But by sharing my story and my belief and my experiences with others, I'm hoping that they can understand what I have gone through while understanding their experiences, because the virtue of compassion that weaves across all faiths and practices and communities. And again, it doesn't even have to be faith-based. It's just mercy and kindness are two things that human beings, regardless of where you are, what color of skin you have, what language you speak, people have always strived for that. And so if you can share that commonality, then that's the basic component of beginning to understand each other from in the context of where they are.